Good afternoon, everybody. I'm going to talk about a few moments from the book of my life. The first moment. I lived in Houston, Texas. On one fine evening, I'm on my way to work. My car broke. So that was the first time ever I got into a public transport. I got into the bus. I went to my last seat. And next to me, there was a lady, close to 30 years old, good looking, very confident, but she was worried. So I asked her what she's dealing with. She said she has a 3-year-old daughter, and it's been ages, almost 7 to 8 years she never worked. Her husband used to be the breadwinner, and right now her husband is in prison and he didn't get bail. I felt very sad for her, and a few minutes I got down. A month later, I met the same lady while walking across the street. I asked her, I was so happy and excited. I hugged, I shook the hands, I asked her how she's doing. She said, things became really worse. She couldn't pay her rent and she was thrown out of the apartments. And she really had challenges in feeding her kid. And her husband is still in prison, he couldn't come out. I felt very empathetic and I left that place. The whole night I couldn't sleep. That conversation really haunted me. It wasn't a skill or resume or a talent. She's highly talented, great communication, US citizen. And she's really powerful and a bold woman, but the problem is her inner state, the way she viewed herself. Her inner state was full of survival, worry, tension and confusion. I knew if her inner state altered, she getting closer to her goal was so easy. I grew up watching the strongest women who always doubted her, my mother. My mother held the family quietly, calmly and consistently. There was a lot of peace and harmony at home. Because whenever we had a crisis, she stood and brought us very powerfully from that. The problem with my mom is she always doubted her. As a kid, that was okay for me, but when I grew up as an adult, it really mattered. She has a lot of leadership skills. She is a very powerful and dynamic woman. But for her, she always felt less about herself. It's about her inner state, the way she viewed herself. And that realization later on became the foundation of my life's work. And I'm going to take you through another journey, an interesting story of my life. I always had this problem. Whenever I walk, 30 years I had this problem. When I walk into an auditorium, I can't get connected with people who are very strong. If I look people who are very authoritative, like CEOs, senior managers, women who are good looking, I stay away from them. I go and talk to people who are simple. I was really puzzled why the hell this is happening to me. And I still remember the incident. I'm studying in my 11th standard, boys' high school, never had any exposure to girls. And I was preparing for my exam. Next day we had an exam. It's 8 o'clock in the evening in my hometown. The bell rings. My mom opens the door. My friend, he comes running upstairs with so much of joy because he's returning from his date, his first date. He came and he said, Dave, I went out with this girl. We had the same ice cream. We drove a long distance. And suddenly he paused. Those days I used to look very thin, short, unshabbily dressed. He looked at me and said, Dave, I feel pity for you. That moment, something broke in me. I decided, as a kid, I am weak, I am not strong. And I don't want the world to find out I am weak. From that moment onwards, I started proving to the world I am strong. I started being with bad companies. I lost all my good friends. I carried that bad boy image just to show to people, hey, look at Dave, he's a very tough guy. I traveled to multiple countries. I went to Mexico, Germany, US, earned a lot of high-paying jobs. I was in a high-paying jobs just to prove to people that I'm strong, I'm not weak. Until 9 years back, one fine day, when I was driving from Chicago to Wisconsin, it was a 2 hours drive. It was a very lonely highway, huge farms on the left and right side. I was in the middle of the road, quite calm road. In that peaceful moment, my entire life started flashing in front of my eyes. I got present to the decision I made as a kid, that 14-year-old kid, that I'm weak, I'm not strong, is just a story. And that is not who I am. I got present that I'm really powerful. In that moment, I felt like so much of freedom. I felt so happy. I felt like screaming, I felt like shouting, I felt like jumping out of the car. I never listened to music, and that day I started listening to music while driving. I got present to who I am as whole, perfect, and complete. There's nothing to fix in me. And I could experience a lot of love from top to bottom, from my skin, head to toe. In that moment, my inner state altered, and I got present to how powerful I am. And then my life shifted. Few years later, I launched my first venture with one single mission and intention, helping women whom life has pushed to the edges to find the way back powerfully. And I still remember the first girl whom I helped. She got hired by one of the biggest companies in North America, not by doing a fancy course. We trained and she got hired. In that moment, I really got present. Who I am is the possibility of freedom and aliveness for people across the globe through my work. Later on, many women across continents, multiple countries, got back to work, started a career, they returned back to work very powerfully, not by doing a fancy course, certification, or a technical training, but by altering their inner state. And when a woman's inner state gets altered, courage returns, momentum returns, belief returns. If that 14-year-old Dev has to look back, he'll be so proud. Every single time these girls got a breakthrough in their career, I got healed, that 14-year-old Dev got healed. That is why this work really became my self-expression. And throughout the journey, I have a lot of lessons learning. So in that, I captured 3 outcomes, I believe, and these are kind of my lessons learned for me. I'm going to share it with all of you today. The first kind of an insight which I gathered is, a woman's potential never gets erased. It's always covered by life. A woman takes a career break. Most of the times if you take, right, they take a career break in order to raise their children, and they quit and they get into the work. Once they started taking care of the kid, they give undivided attention. So their priority becomes secondary. Most of the time they are in the kitchen or taking care of the family members. In that situation, they lose themselves. And people around them, slowly their circle gets reduced. They get lost in touch with the people whom, their colleagues, their corporate, their senior managers, all their corporate life gets shattered. Hardly they talk to people in their community, either their walking partner or the people who live close to their apartment. The circle is very less. And financially, there is no money flowing for them because they have to depend on others for financial needs. In that moment, they are in a very disempowering state. That is why it's always a larger than life for a woman with a career break to go back to work. The reason is their momentum is broken. Career breaks, caregiving, motherhood, and adversity doesn't erase a woman's potential. They just cover the lens in which she views herself. My second observation, this is very close to me, and I worked with several women, including gold medalists, and I discovered this. And this is my own view. Most women don't need motivation. They needed an environment that doesn't trick them. Consider a woman is in a career break and she decides she has to get back to work. Several people close to her come and give her advices and tell, do this program, that program, and she starts doing a lot of certification, but that doesn't guarantee her a job. The reason is she has to stand and focus on the environment, because she needs to ask a question, like whether whatever environment she is living is self-expressive, whether she has the freedom to say anything she wanted. Most of the times, most women can't go to a room and lock themselves and spend 4 hours between the age of 25 to 45 years, because they're full-time housewife. When they want to return back, they go to a room, prepare themselves for a new certification. It's highly difficult because people around her lose their luxury. So she has to give priority for others. So that is why it is important for you to have a workable environment. The more workable environment, the easier for you to get into success and have career breakthrough. The third insight, what I wanted to share is, action and momentum are 2 critical things for you to reach towards your goal. At any given situation in life, it could be a bad marriage, divorce, bankruptcy, however low state you are, however bad past you have, however low grades you have in your graduation, it doesn't matter. At any given situation, even if it is recession, no recession, still you can cause a 180-degree shift and have a great career breakthrough just by taking action. Action, action, action is one of the important things which will give you great results. And consistent action on a daily basis gives you great momentum. And when you are in that space, great momentum stage, you attract wealth. You attract a lot of things which will take you closer to the goal. So the message which I wanted to say, this is the heart of the message. Whenever I talk to a woman during the first conversation, they feel more skeptical, they are worried, they have a lot of fear, they have a lot of self-doubt. I never looked at them as a resume or as a candidate. I looked at them as a human who's searching for freedom and aliveness. And in that moment, I become something else. I offer a space and be a certain way so that they discover their own blind spot and they cause their inner shift transformation. And I'm standing here not as an expert in women. I'm standing here as somebody whose life has been shaped by numerous stories, and each story, whenever somebody causes a career breakthrough, I learn something out of it. In my opinion, most women don't need motivation because women are born empowered. The fact that a woman can bring a new life form itself into the world makes her so special, and she's been installed with a lot of higher and superior capabilities, and a woman can become whatever she wants. But the challenge is she doesn't experience it that way. I'm talking about gold medalists whom I interviewed, helped. At the last day of the interview, they keep crying, they get scared. So the view about themselves is always less. The inner state is not altered. So the final message which I wanted to tell to all of you is, career break, caregiving, motherhood, adversity never erase a woman's potential. They always is clouded by the lens in which they view themselves. What is common between all the three stories which I shared, my mother, the woman on the bus in Houston, and the earlier version of myself is, we never lost our potential. We just lost the connection to our inner state. And when that inner state alters, when a woman reconnects to her own identity, and when a view of life shifts, a woman doesn't just rise, she alters, she transforms her family, her organizations, her community, her society, and the world itself. A woman's inner state is not just a soft skill, it's a societal transformation. Thank you.